This episode today has been a long time coming. I have my friend Ashley Rose Reeves, who has like a million names on the internet, but she is currently Ashley Rose Reeves. She's one of my favorite humans. If you know her, you love her. She is really just like an advocate for women, uh, self body love, self love, self worth, self value, self empowerment. And I have watched Ashley really just like pave the way on social media in so many different ways, not just like self love, but also in business and motherhood. You've really just stepped up for women. And I think that I have learned so much from you. I watch others learn from you constantly on the internet. I know that it hasn't always been easy for you. And I know that there's been, opposition. There always is. But I've watched you step into this role of a leader so courageously and beautifully, and such like commitment to keep showing up regardless of if what you're showing up for like changes or evolves or shifts. But she's also a mother of three, so you have two boys and one girl, and three boys.
Yeah.
She's also a mother of four. So how you want to know what? All three of I don't ever know what boy I'm looking at. When you're snuggling with one of them on the couch or there's one in the kitchen, I'm like, I think I lose track. I swore you had four boys or four kids. And then when I was thinking, I'm like, I can only picture the two boys in my head, but I think that they all
one of them got his perm taken away, and that was like the distinguishing.
Okay, maybe that's it.
Now they all just look the same.
Oh, don't tell your boys that I left one off because now that's just rude.
They don't listen to a lot of.
No, they're not going to listen. They're not going to listen. No, you're right. But okay, so four boys. And your husband is he a vice principal or a principal? I know that
He's
works
a vice principal.
Okay.
At a high school
at a high school
at Bentley High at Lone Peak High School.
And was he at a junior high before?
He was. He's been the way that it works at a district is you just kind of go wherever they put you.
Yeah.
So he's been at a junior high. He's been at two high schools. And yeah, he definitely likes the high school a little bit more. I feel like the kids are not as, the kids, junior high kids would be rough. I would have a hard time working with junior high.
Well, they're just a little bit like emotionally unstable. And so I think from that, a lot of like meanness and recklessness and
that unprovoked like anger too.
Mm-hmm. Like no, that would be really hard. And honestly, I just look up to anyone who can work in this school system because I know it's not easy. I know that they're underpaid. I know that there's like a lot of really high expectations for them always, and a lot of like judgment on what they're doing or they're not doing. And I just see it as so much pressure, but I'm really grateful for people like him and anyone in the school system who's willing to like show up every day. And I don't know. It's really cool too. I'm sure it's really rewarding to see the kids kind of like grow into their own. And we were talking about kids before we started recording this, and it's like such an interesting thing to work with kids or to parent kids and try to figure out what they actually want or need, or to help them see what they want and need without like telling them what they want and need because they don't want that for sure. Right.
Yeah. He has a gift for sure. Like he's kind of like a kid at heart himself. So like he's a really good diffuser. So obviously with an admin job, you deal with a lot of like the problems and the kids that are having issues. Mm-hmm. He used to be a teacher and loved that. I think that was a little bit more fun for him, but on the admin side, he's really good at diffusing like these really tense situations and stuff like that. And he's really good at it. And
how cool that he can take those skills and bring them into your home. I love that.
Totally. There's so many things that like he learns about or tells me like apps to be aware of with kids or whatever. Anyways, but he's great at what he does.
That's awesome.
It is a very hard job for sure.
Yeah. And something else that I really love about watching and observing your husband is the level of support and encouragement I feel from him for you in this this social world that you have lived in for so many years. I think that's really awesome. And I know it makes the work that you and I do a lot easier when there is that support.
Yeah. I really think it would be almost impossible if you didn't have that partner supporting, and just because it is crazy. And we really are just like on the frontier of like, what is happening? We never really know, and been really supportive the whole time through like the highs and the lows. And we live in completely different professional worlds, you know?
Yeah, my husband's an engineer.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
And so it's just different and like I don't know, but it's been really fun and he helps me the best he can in his own ways, but for sure like hands down the best thing he does is really he's always been super supportive and along for the ride whatever it looks like. So
Yeah, that's really awesome. And I actually want to talk about this for 1 second because there might be people listening who maybe don't feel like they have the support of their spouse. And I don't know what the years of this work has looked like for you guys in your relationship or in your marriage, but I was thinking about mine and one thing, so the thing that comes to my mind with Ryan is that he has always supported me personally, right? So there's that level of trust and respect that we have built with each other. And so I think, but he did have a really hard time understanding or accepting and definitely encouraging any part of like the actual social media part of my work that I do.
mhm.
And and so I think that something that I had to do, and maybe something will come to your mind to share, but something I had to do was like respect that with him. And so it was a really slow ease of asking him to be a part of content creation or even like videoing or recording when we were together on a date or family time. Like I had to be really careful about like the progress in which I really implemented it into our personal life at all. And it's
Yeah.
still not, we still don't have a really like my family or my relationship, my marriage isn't really part. I mean, my kids are really comfortable, but Ryan's still like, he doesn't show up a ton, but
Yeah.
but what he has, and I think because I kept it feeling safe for him and comfortable for him, I was like open about the opportunities that would be coming or the financial aspect of it. And with time, he's been like, oh, this is really cool. Like it's cool that you,
Yeah.
or now I'll even like, if I have interactions with people that I don't know, I'll bring those conversations and say like, this is really cool that I was able to have this conversation with someone who's a stranger just because of what I'm sharing online and so he gets to see. I slowly like showed him the benefits and the reward of me doing the work on social media.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, what do you think
I love
about that?
that. So yeah, I think that's so true. And when you're talking about it, I'm realizing like we for sure did all that too. And I did it. You don't even realize like what
Mm-hmm.
you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing that is really important with any kind of anything in marriage is just like telling them like, hey, this matters to me, I want to give it
Mm-hmm.
a try and I need your support. And I
Mm-hmm.
think just like letting them know that, but I think having them be involved in the process, and I do this with my kids too. Years ago, and I know we were friends back then, but when I used to do those bright night events with like Amy,
Yes.
Shelly, and
Yeah,
Haley.
I was at your very first one.
Yeah. Oh yes, you were there. I remember. Anyways, so it was crazy because it was so time consuming. I was got
Mm-hmm.
all these meetings, I was doing all this stuff. And I remember when the day of the event, I told my kids I was going to Bright Night and they were like, what's Bright Night? They had no idea.
And you had been
And
spending
I'd been
all this
spending
time
like
and you're like,
6
oh
months
crap.
planning. I was like, they
Mm-hmm.
don't know anything. And it like a combination of that. Also, like the more we learn about social media and having healthy relationships with social media, I want my kids to know when I'm on my phone what I'm doing. So I'm not just
Mm-hmm.
ignoring them or mindlessly scrolling. And the same thing with my husband. So I do think the whole time I've kind of been like, oh, this is what I'm working on. These are the details. Like, this is a really cool thing that came from being online and like involving him in the communication of the
Yep.
process. Justin's personality is way more like he likes to be on camera. He actually comes to me with ideas a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not because I've asked him to. It's just a personality type. But I will say, even in the last couple like months, like just couple months, I'm starting to just wanting to like lock down my family a little bit more in terms of like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want them to be a part of what I'm doing online anymore. And not because I don't want them, but I'm just seeing as my kids get older, like some of them are not as comfortable with it. And I never want
Mm-hmm.
it to be something where they feel forced. And it
Mm-hmm.
just, I don't know. So like I've from at the very beginning, I never really wanted a brand that depended on my kids to be, I didn't want like
Yeah,
a family
I
YouTube
feel
channel
that.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, they're a part of it because they're part of my life and I'll share them. Even like this year, I told my management campaign, I don't want to do any more ads that include my kids. Like, I just want it to be like fun if they want to type of thing.
Yeah.
And they've always had like the opt in and opt out, but I don't know. It's just, and like you said, we talk about you go through different phases. When they were little and they were around all the time, it was very easy and no one had, and
It wasn't like this planning of like, okay, we have to create this content or we have to all sit down and do this. It's like, they're here. So this is what we're going to do today.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
and
makes
the older
sense.
they get, the more I'm just like, I just want to give them a little bit more like, I don't know. And it's probably my own stuff with it too, where I'm realizing I've kind of grown up online. I've had my motherhood experience online. I've been online for 13 years. And it's just kind of like, I want to keep certain parts of my life a little bit more private. And that's just a learning curve, right?
Well, and also like as your kids get older, it's tricky because they start to get feedback from people who like from their peers who are on social media. And this is new in the last couple of years for me is like, there are kids who follow me on Instagram who will say constant, and my kids don't have Instagram specifically. And so they're like, not really, they're a part of the content if they're on there. And I ask for permission to like post a story or a video of them, but like they'll get, oh, I saw your new shirt, or, oh, I saw you doing this with your mom, or, oh, did you have fun with this? And it catches them off guard a little bit sometimes, I think, when it's their peer, because I think that it naturally makes them wonder if there's judgment behind it, or, and so it's been interesting. And that's definitely been kind of a pullback for me of making sure that they don't ever feel like worried about or it even has to be an issue. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just think like at the, like kind of going back to what you were saying at the beginning, like, I don't think you can ever force anyone who doesn't want to do it. And I think what you were saying about with Ryan, that's so smart, is like giving them information, allowing them to be a part of what they want to. But obviously if you're in a marriage or with your kids where they don't want to be involved, don't make them involved. And it doesn't mean that because the force will be what ruins your relationship and feels really inauthentic to share. And so just work with what you have. Like and honestly, I do feel like you don't need a family that wants to be on the internet all the time to be successful online. Like,
no, that's so true.
There's this woman, Libby. Do you follow what I'm trying to look up her Instagram? She was on TikTok and we're good friends. Imperfect. No. Hold on. She's like a motherhood diary of an honest mom.
Okay. No, I don't.
She is completely blown up in the last 2 years. She has like almost 500,000 on Instagram, way over 1 million on TikTok. And she has beautiful, really awesome, impactful content all around motherhood. And I've never seen her kids. It's possible to still share these messages that matter to you and not have them be front and center on the camera. Her entire feed are incredible messages and even about motherhood. And I think she's done a really good job. I'm assuming for whatever reason, and I'm not saying if you put your kids there, it's bad. Obviously I've done that, whatever. But you can do it. Like if you're in a situation where you're like, how do I get my spouse's support? I would say, don't force. Like you were saying, Chelsea, like let him be involved, let him know what's going on. And
I think it's true for any type of online content that you want to create. If you have suffered with like anxiety or depression, you don't have to share specific details of your experience with anxiety or depression to be able to share the journey of healing or working through, or you know what I mean? Like you don't have to give the details. So that is something to think about. But okay, so currently, let's talk about how you show up online and what's like your priority.
So right now I'm trying really, really, really hard to kind of focus on what I've always wanted to talk about, but it's just, I've gone through a realm of it all online, but right now
maybe we should talk about that. Should we talk about that first? Should we talk about, okay. So I was talking to Ashley a couple months ago when we were talking about doing this podcast, and I was telling her, I'm like, something that because she was I think you were like, I've kind of done it all, and I'm like, but it's also been really cool because I have watched you. And I guess the way that I kind of saw it visually as we were having that conversation was that you had a closet full of shoes that you really, really loved. all of them. You loved all the pairs of shoes and you kind of put them on and you like danced around in them for a bit to see if they were comfortable, if you loved them, if they were the ones you wanted to like wear. And you've kind of traded through some shoes throughout the time that you've been here online. And I like personally, from an outside perspective, it feels like you found the perfect pair of shoes right now.
Oh, that's
Like,
so nice.
and maybe they're just the most comfortable, but they're like comfortable, but they also have like power. They're like power shoes. So there's like a little power, like a little tenderness, a little confidence, a little clarity, a little bit of all the right things to make just that perfect pair of shoe. At least that's for me. So you started in 13 years ago, you started showing up, and what was that like?
So I started online with a blogspot blog back in the day, and I really was just so depressed. I didn't recognize it as that at the time, but I was really, really lonely, and I didn't have any sisters or friends that had kids. I had just, I guess it's 14. My son's 14. So I guess it's been 14 years. And I just stumbled. I don't even remember how, but I somehow found bloggers or Blogspot or whatever. And I remember seeing pictures of people with kids thinking they were faking it. Like I remember seeing a picture of someone that was on the internet holding a baby in her arms, smiling. And I was like, what a faker. Like you could not actually be happy. Like, and I recognize now, clearly there was like some,
postpartum going on.
Postpartum stuff going on for sure.
Mm.
But anyways, I did start. What's so funny is I started with the goal, like I'm going to lose weight and then I'm going to feel better. Like this is just because I gained weight. And so I started a dieting blog, which is so funny. And I gave dieting tips like every day. It was called A Daily Dose of Dieting. And I would literally,
I feel like I never knew this.
You did it?
No.
And I would post every day like diet tips. And I mean, some of them are so absurd. Like I would say, don't store diapers down on your main floor, like store them upstairs. So every time you have to do a diaper, you're getting more counts. And like, it was like obsessive and crazy. And
I just feel bad for any mom who feels like they have to make changing diapers even harder on themselves.
Even harder. I know it's like really,
you know what? You just do what you can do, right? It's like
you do what you can do. And I wasn't in a great place. And that for some reason, so I did that and I posted every single day. It was a daily dose. And so I did it. And I've always, loved alliteration. So somehow did that to myself. But anyways, so we started there, right? And then as Instagram came out, I remember being on the waiting list for Instagram to get it on a Android phone because I didn't have an iPhone at the time, and thinking it was just a photo editing app. I just wanted the cool filters. And I was like, so cool. Anyways, so I remember I got the notification. I remember setting up my name, and I remember seeing it was like a social media type of thing and thought that was kind of cool. Anyways, it's evolved, and I started definitely sharing like healthy recipes and dieting tips. That's kind of like what I focused on. And I actually had a ton of growth. I went on Good Morning America talking about my experience with healthy recipes and all that stuff. And then over the couple of years, I think there was this underlying issue that I had with my own body image issues, clearly, because I was like so obsessive with all this other stuff. And my daughter's almost 7 now. And it was when I was pregnant with her that I was like, this is like crazy. I'd had 3 boys, and I was pregnant with a girl, and I kind of started getting really stressed about like the lack of ability to raise a daughter with confidence. Cause I was like, I don't have it. Like I had like enough awareness to know like my behavior and my obsessions weren't healthy, but I kind of didn't think it was hurting anyone. But then finding out I was having a daughter did something different to me. And
it like puts a real legit mirror in your face.
It does. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And so that coupled with, when I was pregnant with her, we also found out about a family friend who passed away of cancer. And I just had this, like, I don't know, it was just like this, like Jesus moment where I was like, I have been so rude and awful. This woman was leaving, and she did pass away. She had 4 kids, and she passed away, and like being so like heartbroken for her situation, and also feeling so much guilt that I had so much hate and shame for my body. And I was still here, and I still had my kids. And I don't know, I just started following different people online. I started reading different books. I started focusing on more things because I wanted to change. And so it's shifted over the years where I was sharing healthy recipes, and then I kind of just shared recipes. And then I just started talking more about this like body image stuff that I was working through, and I was learning a lot and finding more peace. And so I've had, and then I feel like I went through the gambit of, okay, I want to feel good in a swimsuit, and that's awesome. And I want to feel good when I'm with my kids. But then I got really sick 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I have to love my body, even if it doesn't work. Like, because I was so mad at my body when it got
Yeah.
sick.
Oh,
I
isn't
got
that the
meningitis.
hardest thing? Yeah.
Yeah, I got meningitis and I had a stroke and I was so mad at my body because I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I worked so hard. I was the healthiest I'd ever been. I felt like mentally and physically, I was at such a good place when that happened. And then I got to learn this lesson all over again of like, there are people who live with chronic pain and disabilities and things like that, that like they will never recover from, and they have to still love and care for their bodies, even if they're not functioning the way that we want them to. So I don't
And
know.
that's something
A
that's something
journey.
I think about a lot. Like if I ever hear or see like feedback or attack on you when you're sharing these messages, is of it's like you have like walked the walk, and it's something that you've continued to choose over and over again. And that, I think that honestly is true for all of us in a world where there's like so much pressure and expectation and so much comparison and so much learning from generations, before us. And so it truly is a decision that we have to make like every single day.
It is. And that's what I think is crazy about doing it online, right? Is like you put out your thoughts of the day and
Mm-hmm.
you share things that you're going through. Is like it's just interesting because you learn a lot, you say things. Even last week I posted something that I regret like saying, because I had said something about how I didn't want to get a nose job because I saw people talking about it online
Mm-hmm.
and I hurt people's feelings and I feel really bad about that. I wasn't trying to be critical, and you learn as you go along, like, okay, like there's really good people I know who do plastic surgery type of things. And even though I don't want to do them, and that's all I was trying to say, I definitely don't want to talk to where I make anyone feel bad about the decisions they've made, you
Well,
know?
even when she shared about getting one that like a popular blogger, she shared about getting a nose job, and she shared the reason why she did is because she showed the before and after with a filter on her nose, and she said,
Yeah.
this filter made me want to get a nose job, so I did. And
Yeah.
she did say, I wish that that wasn't the case. Like I wish that
Yeah.
I wish I wouldn't have had that experience of seeing the difference between the
Totally.
two.
Totally.
And so that's, yeah,
And
it's
also and I like I don't want to say names or anything, but like also
no.
in her defense, I do think it's really great to be honest because
Totally.
I feel like we used to see plastic surgery on like celebrities or
It was
whatever.
like
It's like, oh,
perfectionism that was like unattainable without
unattainable.
surgery. But we were like,
And
how are they so perfect?
yeah, and now
Yeah,
it's
I
like
agree.
your next door neighbor, everyone looks like that
Hmm.
and we don't know why, and a lot of us, myself included, and it's also was like a good opportunity for me to be like, clearly this is something I'm insecure about. If I'm feeling defensive, like I don't want to do
Hmm.
that, like whatever.
Hmm.
And so anyways, I really think it's awesome that she was at least honest about
And
it
transparent. Yeah.
and
Hmm.
transparent. I think that's great. And so my point in that was I never intended to hurt anyone, but when you do things online, you're kind of like live learning, right? And
Mm.
every single day you're fine tuning more and more what you want to share. And I never in a million years want to share something that makes another person feel bad about what they've done or the decisions they've made for their body. All I want to do is be a place where like we have grace toward ourselves with the decisions we've made or want to make or whatever. It doesn't really matter. We just need to love our bodies and respect them in a different way and do things from a place of love. Even if you've already done something and maybe you have regrets or maybe you don't, we just have love about it. Like I used to do crazy, weird diets all the time. I don't think I'm a horrible person for doing that. I just look at it differently now.
Hmm.
And so, anyways,
I
it's,
also want to add this though. I
yeah,
also want to add when you are a consumer on any platform, you can choose to read and see content from people and decide what your takeaway is. You can
yeah,
look for a million ways to be offended or feel attacked or feel like judgment, or you could look and say each person is here having their own experience. Each person is sharing their own thoughts and feelings. This isn't really about me, even. How can I connect or how can I learn from this if I'm showing up and I want to consume this? But also, like, there's an element of responsibility for consumers to not look to be pissed off and offended
yeah.
by things that you are sharing, right?
Yeah, totally, totally. So, Yeah, it's just interesting. Like the more we all step into like what we're learning online and the things and the takeaways, and I feel like we need to be protective of what we consume, like you said too, and
Mhm.
like choosing what we see. And I don't know. I don't know. It's been a learning curve, but I feel like where I want to be right now is I want to be sharing things that help people feel more comfortable in their bodies, that
Mhm.
help people make decisions about their bodies or their health or even procedures from a place of love, you know? Like I don't think it's bad to eat a certain way. I don't think it's bad to exercise. I don't think like I think there's a little bit of an overcorrection there where we're like any kind of talk about trying to change anything about your body is bad. No, we do want to take care of our bodies. It's important. Like I believe our bodies are the most incredible, magnificent gift we have. We
They
need
are
them
literally the only thing that give us the opportunity to be alive.
totally.
It's like our
Like
spirit
we
and our
have to
body.
take
Like
care of it.
we can't even be here without our bodies, right?
Yeah. And so I absolutely say, like, do what you need to do to take care of it and love it. But doing anything from a place of love, not shame, I think is the biggest like shift that I think we all need to focus on. Am I doing this because I feel like everyone has done this procedure, so I need
Hmm.
to do it too? Or am I doing this because I love my body and I can tell that there's like I have discomfort? Like I know there's so many amazing procedures that help people that have really severe insecurities and whatever. Like there's a million different reasons. And so I don't
Well,
want to sit there.
8 years ago, I had like a tummy tuck. And
Yeah.
so I had two babies at the same time. My ribs touch my hips. Like I have no waist. So
Yeah.
everything inside of me went out. Like like
Yeah.
you can only imagine,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so everything went out. The separation between my ab muscles it was over 3 inches.
Oh
So
my
there was like
gosh.
this 3 inch separation. I already have like a scoliosis, like twisted, like arched back spine. So then I
Yeah.
had no like strength in my core. So I had constant
Yeah.
lower back pain. And also I had 7.5 inches of skin hanging off of my stomach. Okay. Now
Yeah.
here's the thing though. I went to bed every day, night, and I like laughed like I had a little kitten that just slept right next to me on my stomach, like my ball of skin, it was like a joke. Like that was there. And I always like people would tell me that I was the cutest pregnant person they've ever seen when I was clearly not pregnant. And it was funny because I was like fit, I was in shape, I was healthy, but because of the shape of my ab muscles with the separation, it like looked like I was pregnant still.
Yeah.
And so, but I made sure that I got to a place where it was not like I was not. I didn't think that getting surgery was going to make me love myself more. I
Yeah.
knew I knew that it was going to help my stomach not look like I was pregnant anymore because I didn't
Yeah.
want to look pregnant anymore. I knew that
Yeah.
it was going to support my back so that I didn't
Yeah.
have like those back issues as much. I knew that it was going to like take away the skin that I no longer needed, right?
Yeah.
And
And
honestly, that's
I think that's
and
great.
1,000,000%. And I agree with that totally. I'm like, if you're going into something thinking it's going to make you feel different about yourself, then you're going to find another procedure after that. You're going to find another procedure after that. And I've actually witnessed that firsthand. And so I agree with you fully that it's like, get good with yourself.
Yes.
And then the decisions after that are very just personal to each person.
Exactly. Yes. I love that. Get good with yourself first and then make your decisions from a place of love. I think that's so good because yeah, that's where we get stuck in this trap and this loop of like the chasing endless procedures and everything. And yeah, I don't know. So
You shared something actually yesterday, I think, or maybe it was the day before. We never know with reels anymore because they just continue to pop up. But you
yeah.
shared a tip that you love to do when you are maybe having a day when you're not feeling awesome about your body. I would love for you to share that.
Yeah, so I've been doing this for years and it started with when I was like 30, probably 32, 33. It was right when I was pregnant with my daughter. I think a therapist, I don't even know where I originally got it from, but you basically think like 10 years, you cut your age in half. So I was like 32 and I went back to when I was like 16 years old and you think about what you would tell yourself at 16. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you have that perspective and that grace when you're a little bit older to look at the younger version of yourself and be like, okay, you're worried about things you don't need to be worried about. Things get better, and then you do that going forward too. So I would take like 32 and times it by two and think at like 64, what I would say. But lately, I mean, I'm almost 40 now, I'm 39. And so now I'm thinking more of
Same.
80, 90-year-old woman. And I just was like, it's so crazy, like to think about when you double that age. So I've been doing this method for a long time, but now like that woman is getting older and older, right? And
Yeah.
so I think about like an 80 or a 90-year-old woman at the very, oh my gosh, I could cry at like the very end. And like when you look back at now, it really does help you be like the things that we worry about, especially when it comes to our bodies, are just most of it is stuff we don't need to be stressed about. We worry about all these minuscule things. And I think it's like the ultimate distraction, a tool of Satan, which I don't know if you want to cut that off of your podcast, religious
I
or whatever.
don't know. I don't want you to cut that off because I think that
just,
is absolutely like the adversary. Like
yes,
if there is one thing that can distract us from living, it is absolutely our bodies.
yes. And it's our greatest tool. And it really has so many beautiful capabilities. And all of us have different limitations with our bodies. Everyone has some kind of different limitation, and we deal with those. But like the mental limitations are what those dark thoughts that can be put in our brain that hold us back from living our life and focusing on the things that we need to are so dark and so problematic. So it's like when you really think about an 80 or 90-year-old version of yourself looking back at now, you'll be like, are you kidding me? You like right now in my body, there is so much I can do that I know I will likely not be able to do when I'm 90 years old. And so it just kind of helps you kind of like visualize having a conversation with the 90-year-old version of yourself and just saying, how do you feel about our body? And thinking about it like that, I just believe, especially from that place, there is going to be only love, only gratitude, only grace for what we're going through right now. Because you and me, and I'm sure lots of people listening to this are in probably like the hardest times of our lives. We're juggling so much business and children that are getting older and trying to figure out what it looks like to almost be raising adults, and like all this stuff. And then all the pressure we feel.
And it's no longer like what we just say to them. It is like how we are acting and the choices that we're making. It's
absolutely
so
it's
big.
everything. It's like you have to analyze every interaction you have with your kids now and like the things you say. And even I was watching 30 Rock with my husband last night, and I forget what her name is, and my husband would just die if he knew I couldn't remember her name, but Princess Leia on Star Wars, what's her name?
I don't know anyone's names.
The actress.
Let me just be honest with you. I know no one's names, especially celebrities, especially movies. I retain zero information on that stuff. Isn't that hilarious?
Okay, so it's a joke that she says, but the other thing that I think, hold on, I'm looking up Princess Leia actress name. Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher.
Great.
And so anyways, it's an episode that she records on 30 Rock, and she actually passed away a few years ago, but it's joking about being a woman in Hollywood. And she was like, once nobody wants to see you naked anymore, you become irrelevant. And it's like a funny joke, but also like, I do think for my age, I'm almost 40. And I do think that in the next like 10, like in this shift, like who knows what age it all ends, but I do think it is going to be a shift and a difficult thing for women in my age group, around my age group, to transition to a place of life where like our attractiveness really has impacted our lives. And we don't want to admit it, but I've been reading a lot about it lately. Like it is a transaction of sorts. Like people.
Well, and the generations below us are so much more willing to be even way sexier than we are. Like than we've ever been willing to, you know what I mean? Like they have this like level of sexuality that they have embraced, and they are willing to be open and share like I've never experienced before.
Yeah. And it's to each their own. It's
totally, and it's not bad. There's great parts of that.
Yeah, I do think what will be really interesting and a difficult thing to embrace is like, I just was even at a movie theater, and like this like young guy didn't open the door for me. And I was like, oh, it's when they don't think you're like a potential or something. I don't know what it is, but something happens where we become like an older woman, and we're not these like young, attractive things that people like are trying to help. And like I think it is. And that is one thing I've also noticed about living in like because I've gone through phases of my life where I'm like very thin and very overweight, and you are treated differently. Like people open doors for you, like men talk to you differently, like you're respected at meetings differently. And I think that concept that I've experienced in weight I'm starting to see it in my age.
Can we ask this question? Do
Yeah,
you think that there is any part of that is the way that like you are showing up differently in those?
totally. I do think you have like a confidence and
Okay.
whatnot. Like, I believe if you are more confident that people take you more seriously and they
Mm,
respond to you
okay.
differently. I absolutely think that has something to do with it.
Because I like that answer because I don't want anyone to ever believe that just because they look a certain way that the rest of their life they're going to, you know what I'm saying?
No, no, no.
And so
Yeah,
it's
no,
like,
I totally
and so
agree.
I like the idea. I like that you answered yes, that it has something to do with the way that you were showing up too,
Yeah.
when you feel certain ways or you believe certain things about your body.
Yeah, totally. And I just think it's something that like we'll have to work harder on
Hmm.
as we get older,
Yeah.
bringing that confidence that
Did you
comes.
see a couple weeks ago? I posted the hottest grandma, and she has kind of my haircut. It's like platinum and this, and she's like a straight up grandma, like old grandma. I don't even know,
Yeah.
80 something maybe. And
Okay.
she is on social media and she's killing it. And
Is
she's
she the
so
makeup lady that does all the makeup? I feel like I've seen a
she's
few.
fashion. She's
Okay.
fashion, but she's like, I actually shared her post and I was like, if I'm not her when I grow up, I don't even want to grow up. Right. So it is true.
Yeah.
We're going to have to like, however we want our lives. So, if we want to still be on social media, great. If we don't, great. But there is going to be that transaction. And something that I love that you've done right now, and I didn't even mention this at the beginning, is your, like your new brand, the Body Love Basics. And I honestly, that's something that's going to grow with you forever, no matter what, which is
Yeah.
maybe why it feels like the most ideal pair of shoes.
Yeah. That's why I'm so excited about it. I feel like it's going to be able to.
So let's talk
I,
about that. Body Love
okay.
Basics.
So yeah, I started Body Love Basics a year, it launched a year ago. It's been in concept for about 2 years, but it's basically all the clothing with Body Love Basics are size fluid, which I have officially trademarked.
I'm
It's
so proud
registered
of
for
you.
trademark. No one had used it, which I'm shocked. But that basically just means any of the pieces can fluctuate in size with you. So our bodies change so much. The average woman changes body sizes 3 to 4 times a year. We have like periods, we have seasons, we have health stuff. Women's bodies just typically fluctuate way more than men's do. And
Mm-hmm.
all of our clothing is just like size specific. And I got tired of everything in my closet, feeling like I needed to change things out all the time or nothing fit. So everything that we design is meant to be able to fit you to go up or down a size or two. For some things, you could
Yeah.
be way more fluid than that. But it's been so fun to design these pieces because we get to do it with multiple body types in mind and thinking about our own bodies, like how they've changed and shifted, and kind of embracing that and helping you feel comfortable in your clothing as your body's going through transitions and changes, whether it's smaller, bigger, or somewhere in between. So that's been like the whole concept of it. It's been really cool. And then in the last, I don't know, it's been about 6 months. I also started introducing some anxiety tools, which have been really cool. I feel like another form of body love is like taking care of our anxiety and just helping us rest, because that's really hard for me and a lot of people to just chill. So we have like
Mm.
ice rollers and hot pads and some blankets and some fun stuff too. But it's been a really cool, the whole concept is that things like will feel really good on your body, and having like size fluid fashion and things like anxiety tools, I think will really help people do that. And it's been
It's so
so fun.
cool. No, it's really so awesome because like we should be able to feel comfortable in the clothes that we're wearing on the period weeks or on like
Yes.
through the winters or when our bodies are shifting and changing. And if you think about that, if we're changing sizes that much and so much of like our value or worth or how we're like mentally stable is based around that, like the fluctuation, the inconsistency, like no wonder why it's such a struggle. And so I
Yeah.
just really love that you're creating this brand to be able to support and like it's like takes away that um the ups and the downs. It's like it's a true problem solver. And also like I think you're doing such a good job at making it be on trend, like things that people would love or that will last for a really long time, not like
Thank you.
trendy, but it still like feels like you're wearing good, well-made things that look good on your body that you feel good into. So I love
Yeah,
that.
thank you. Thank you.
So when you're looking back at your experience of growing through all of these different stages, like personally, what type of growth or what has the growth been like for you?
I think the growth has been, I don't know, the first thought that comes to my mind is like slow. Like
Interesting.
I feel like the growth has been slowly shifting, and I feel like it kind of feels like slow motion, but in a good way. Like I feel like it's always been the same
Like,
thing.
is
Like,
steady the same as slow?
yeah, I think steady is slow. I feel like it's like just kind of slow motion with it's all like you said, like it's always been there. The center, the core has been there. Like
Mm-hmm.
clearly there was some like insecurities I was working through the very beginning, and finding things that like support and help shift the way I think about my body, and then finding and creating products that help us feel better in our bodies. Even with this decluttering the home thing I'm doing right now, a challenge on Instagram, that's also been to feel better in our bodies. We want to make our environments a place of peace so our bodies feel more peace. I think my default is like frantic and anxious. And so
Mm.
I do think I have to work
Because
really
that's
hard.
like a form of distraction from
Totally.
thoughts and feelings.
Yes. So working really hard to like get to a place of peace with your body and your home, but it all is slow and steady and methodical, like thinking through, taking off a bite at a time of what we can handle. There's no way on planet Earth I could have done. I'm doing this like massive home declutter right now where I'm trying to get rid of 50% of the items in my home. And there's no way I could have done this a year ago. But it's like
Mm.
you get all these pieces in line, like slowly, and also kind of like trusting the process that like we never know what I don't know what it'll look like in a year.
And
Things
I was
change.
actually, that's funny you said that because I was going to ask the question, like, how have you built this trust with yourself to continue to mold and shift and change into all of these different versions of yourself or your business?
Yeah.
Like,
Okay. I'm starting to realize my own power.
yeah.
I'm realizing that the decisions I make are good, whether they are, I don't really believe there's like the right or the wrong decisions. All decisions are good because I'm learning what to do and what not to do. Like I said, I posted something I regretted posting last week on the internet. Wasn't the wrong decision. I learned I don't like feeling this way. I don't like people thinking that I was trying to be mean, nothing like
Mhm.
that. And so everything is a decision, right? And so when you can trust, like, I'm going to make this decision with the information I have, I'm going to move forward and trust that if it's right, it'll continue to go that way. And if it's not the best decision, I'm going to feel like I don't want to do it. And it's kind of cool to look back at my life and my business and even my family and the decisions that I made without even thinking about it. And I realized some of the biggest decisions took almost no stress at all. And I think I tend to put stress on all these big decisions and just kind
Mm.
of trying to be a little bit more relaxed, a little bit slower, and just kind of trusting that it's going to be okay. And even if it's not, that I learn from it. And
Well,
the
and
next,
how cool to look back and to be able to see all the ways that you could trust yourself. And I
Mhm.
think that that's the biggest that like when you started talking, I just got goosebumps all over because it is so true of just trusting that all decisions are going to teach us something and
Yes.
they might move us in a direction that we really want to be and they might move us into a direction that we didn't even know existed that is
Yeah.
amazing. It might also teach us something that we never want to do or say or be a part of again. But like,
Yeah.
no, it's not like they're, unless you're like actually hurting people on purpose, it's not,
Totally.
or hurting yourself on purpose. No decisions are bad decisions, and that we
Yeah.
can trust ourselves to be able to continue to make decisions after decisions and just like trusting that whole process. And I don't know, I feel like I've watched you do that. And I think it's so cool to hear you like explain it and take ownership and pride. And even when you just said like I'm realizing my power, I think that that is one of the most beautiful gifts that you can give yourself. And honestly, I think that's why you are having this success on social media is because you know recognizing and being willing to step into your power is sparking interest in others. Like, I think I want that for me. I think maybe I could be powerful. Maybe I could trust myself. Maybe I could feel better. Maybe I could actually love myself or love my body. And honestly, it's amazing because that's what you wanted to do. And it took the process of you moving through it and really like stepping into that power and being willing to do it because it's not always fun. But
Yeah.
how freaking cool that you can do that. And then there's like a ripple effect to all the women who are in your community.
Thank you. It is kind of crazy to think about for sure. Yeah.
And also like we get the opportunity to see bits and pieces of Mabel, and it's clear that she is learning from a place of love and compassion and confidence and power. And you and I both know that that's like the best gift that we could ever
I know.
give.
Yeah. Just want to, want to protect them from the world. I'm like, it is really beautiful to kind of see some of these like generational things breaking, like I really
Mhm.
do. It's so beautiful to see in her, and it heals us. The more we have to, even if I am thinking something negatively about my body, I at least know enough not to say it now. So when I'm not saying it as much, I am starting to feel better. So like
Mhm.
when you are watching the way you talk about your body around your kids and stuff like that is also helping you too by trying to protect and heal them too. So
And the thing about it is when we give our children and ourselves the tools to be able to navigate the thoughts and the feelings, then it's not actually that we're protecting them from the world. We're giving them the power to be able to work through it and come out on top.
yes, I love that. Love that.
Oh, that's so good. Gosh, this has been a great conversation. I'm
I just
so,
could talk to you forever. That's the problem.
we really could talk. We could talk for like 4 days, which I love so much.
Yeah.
But thank you for sharing your experience. Thank you for the way that you're showing up. And honestly, I am so grateful for anyone who is willing to step into their own power in order to serve the greater good of others. And so thanks for doing that.
Thank
Um,
you.
so we have to end the podcast with these two questions, this fire in your heart, peace in your soul. Because I believe that we can dance with both of those things, but also like not at the expense of the other. So the first question is, what is something that is currently lighting your heart on fire?
I mean, really, my house.
Yeah.
This whole decluttering thing I'm doing, I I really have found so much peace in getting rid of stuff. So I have an anxious heart. Unfortunately, it is the way it is. And
Yeah.
I was telling my husband last night, I don't know if anything has helped my anxiety as much as getting rid of stuff has. I didn't realize how much it was affecting me, but it's made me very excited. It's bringing more peace in my family. It's made me feel more focused in my business. I don't think everyone is like this, but I know a lot of people learning about how our brains process stuff, just whatever that looks like for you, but like removing excess things from our schedules or our homes, just like trying to remove all excess. So you really just have exactly what matters the most to focus on has been so therapeutic for me. It's been really, really a cool process.
And you also said something like, because the thing that is the hardest is when you have spent a lot of money and you still actually really like a lot of your stuff. This is my daily battle because I am a professional consumer. I love like cute things. I love new things. I love to, you know what I mean?
Yes, I'm the same way. Yes.
And so when you're getting rid of things and you see like the thousands of dollars leaving, it really does kind of make you reevaluate your purchases in the future as well. And I really noticed that when I started having to get rid of the clothing that my kids were growing out of so quickly. When you first have your kids and you're like so excited and you think they like need shoes to match every outfit, and then you need, and then you're all of a sudden you're like, wait, I have to buy like 15 different wardrobes for them in their life. They don't just get a wardrobe like me, and so I remember having to get rid of so much. I started being like, I gotta slow this down, like stop, stop investing. So it's almost like it's a good refocus of what like decision making when you're purchasing as well, not just the
And
current
I'm
state of the home.
realizing I think purchasing stuff has kind of become like a numbing behavior for me. Like I'll
Mm.
just instead of focus on the things I need to, or if I'm feeling anxiety, I just was like buying things.
Gosh,
Just
and it's so easy, right?
it really is. It has never been easier. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just feeling the difference of what it does for our home, my
Mm-hmm.
mental health, my relationships with my children and family. Like I was always so stressed about how messy things were and feeling like, why doesn't anyone else know where all this stuff goes? I'm like, there's just all this stuff that we don't even need. So it's just as simple as like, I don't know. It's been really a cool process
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
love that. And what is something that you do to protect the peace of your soul?
I think prayer. I really am a big time prayer girl. I pray
Mm-hmm.
probably 20 times a day. I just feel like it's a really good recentering for me. I think that it helps me refocus. I think it helps me calm down. And I also feel like I like input. And so like
Mm-hmm.
divine input matters to me. And so being in a place where I feel like I can do that is a big deal.
That's so beautiful. Ashley, where can the listeners find you?
I'm anywhere on the internet, but just Ashley Rose Reeves. I'm mostly on Instagram. That's kind of my home base. I do a little bit of TikTok and blogs, and I just hit 100 subscribers on YouTube.
Oh my goodness, look at you.
So it's only been 13 years.
And actually, I didn't even know you were on YouTube. So now I know. So I know we were actually the podcast. Actually, if you're listening, the podcast is on YouTube, and I never talk about it. So I think there's like 12 subscribers over there, maybe even less than 12. Yeah. But yeah, I know us old people stepping into YouTube. Watch out, here we come.
Everyone's like, just all the YouTube short things, and like, I guess I'm already making the videos. I'll start posting them there too.
So there you go. Thank you.
Instagram is definitely my home base. So come
so much. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Chelsea.
That's all we've got for today on the Dance of Growth podcast. One thing that would really help both myself and other women like you is if you would leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you tune in to listen. Or just share your favorite takeaway from today's episode on social media and tag me at Chelsea Christensen on Instagram. Thank you for listening, and until next time, remember, when you're living a life that has both passion and peace, you are truly living in your purpose. May you always have fire in your heart and peace in your soul.